Live poker players, they're crazy, man, okay? They don't know what showdown value is. They don't know how to bluff. They don't bluff catch. They're fucking crazy. They don't play poker. They're playing bingo.
Hey, that's me, Dylan Jack. I have over 100,000 in online earnings after learning the game just 2 years ago. Can I make 100,000 playing live in 2 years just like I did online?
How are these players so bad? It is a reg. It's blind versus blind. I'm 3-betting you.
Most live regs are drooling out the mouth, and I can confidently say there are no good live regs in poker in America. And I'm here to show everyone just how easy it is to win. Let's go. First hand of the session, we are playing 5-5 with a $600 cap, and I'm just setting up my phone to record for this evening, and we actually pick up pocket aces right out of the gate. So I get a feeling it's going to be a good night, and the hand starts off with the hijack limping. We go ahead and ISO, of course, on the button to $25. Should probably just go a little bit bigger here to like 30, 35 over a limp, because I feel like they're going to be inelastic. But anyways, the blinds get out of the way, and the hijack calls. So we are now heads up to a flop of King 9-6 with a couple of diamonds, and when the hijack checks to me in position, I'm going to mostly be range betting and choose a size that incentivizes them to raise with the strong hands, call with the weak stuff, Hungry Horse Classic. So we go $30 into 50, and now the hijack actually check raises me to $80. So quite a small size, and this really feels more like a weak king trying to find out where it's at the classic live poker play, which is horrible. Could also be something like King 6, King 8. I feel like a set would probably go larger, or maybe some pair plus flush draw, so definitely never folding. The question here is whether to 3-bet or just call. The hijack started the hand with about $330, so it's not unreasonable to just rip it, get it in. But I just sat down, I don't have a read yet, and don't want to somehow get a king to find a hero fold, so we just call and see what happened. The turn is now the 9 of spades pairing the board, and obviously it's an amazing card, because it cuts down the 2 pair combinations, and now King 6 is counterfeit. So we are feeling pretty confident the hijack just has a weak king here, and when he bets half pot on the turn, it pretty much confirms everything, I believe. If he had a bit better hand, he would probably just go larger or go all in on the turn with a flush draw and some straight draws out there. So we just put him all in for an additional $200, and after about 10 seconds, he makes a call, which is great news to us. The river is the 10 of hearts, table our pocket aces, and we are good against a random King X. Didn't really see what the second card was, but right off the bat, winning a nice $660 pot to get the session started. We are now on the button. The straddle is on in this hand, and we look down at ace-3 off on the button. The cutoff limps, and on the button, I'm just opening and isolating super wide. Do have to be a little bit cautious due to the cap of us being a little bit shorter, but I still think we just have a skill edge in position. So we make it $45 in order to play heads up versus a fish in position since we're trying to make the most money. Small blind calls, the cutoff calls, and we're going 3 ways to a flop of 9-8-5, 2 diamonds, 1 heart. When it checks to us multi-way, I'm only range betting good hands and good draws, high equity stuff, so we go ahead and just check this one back. Turn is now the king of clubs, and both players quickly check to us again. If either of them had a good hand, like a king or 2 pair, a set, anything like that, or maybe even like pair plus draw, they'd probably just come out and bet themselves on the turn. So I think we can apply a lot of pressure here on the turn, and also they might just put me on ace king since I isolated very big pre-flop. That's a hand they like to put us on anyways. And then on a diamond river, we can just blast away with the ace of diamonds. So we go ahead and bet $75 with all this information in mind into 135, and they both quickly fold, and we are able to steal this one away with very little resistance. Shortly after those 2 hands, we pick up King Jack of Hearts in the hijack. We go ahead and open it up to $25. The cutoff, button, and the big blind all call. So we're going 4 ways out of position to a flop of King 6-8 with 2 clubs. Out of position with the majority of my range, I'm going to be checking, and I think this hand is close. I would definitely just start betting a hand like ace king, king queen, maybe some nut flush draws or some combo draws, since check raising and check calling those hands don't feel like great options, but King Jack just feels right on the cusp 4 ways. Anyways, we go ahead and check, and the cutoff now bets $50, so around half pot. I don't expect this to be very weak when this player begins betting into 3 other players. The button now calls next to act, and already I'm not feeling that great, but it's a looser table, and we can be ahead of some hands like King 10, King 9, and some flush and straight draws. The big blind folds, and we decide to just call and see what develops on the turn. The turn is the beautiful jack of spades, so now we actually have top 2, and we take the lead from hands like king queen, king 8. And now the cutoff continues betting for $115 on the turn. When the cutoff double barrels, he's not messing around, he's not bluffing, he just has a king or some high equity draw, pair plus draw, something like that. Something he really likes and is probably not going to fold. And now the button actually calls again next to act, and I think at this point it's likely the button has maybe a weak king or maybe some pair plus draw, something like that. So we're going to go ahead and just put the money in right now. We go ahead and raise to $400. We have to be a little careful because the button is actually quite deep with us. We're about 1k effective with the button, but the cutoff has only about 400 behind in their stack. So I go ahead and raise to 400, which effectively puts the cutoff all in on the turn. And now the cutoff goes into the tank for actually about 2 to 3 minutes here. So I suspect he has a worse 2 pair that he's considering making a hero full with, or maybe some pair plus draw, maybe king 10. Anyways, he ends up putting in the call, and now the button begins tanking for a minute. I don't know what's happening. These, I suspect they both have like some pair plus draw or like some 2 pair or something like that. I don't know. I don't suspect people would fold 2 pair in this game on double flush draw, so it really just feels like some top pair that they're not able to get away from. And actually, so I ended up betting, I wanted to bet $450, which would put the cutoff all in on the turn. But I accidentally tossed in $400 for black chips and then announced my bet of $450, which is fine. But the thing is, now the cutoff will have about $50, $60 left on the river into a pot of over $900. And I didn't realize at the time, since I thought I put them all in, but I actually announced my hand and said 2 pair because the button folded after about a minute tank. And I apologize, I didn't want to sorrel anyone at the table. I don't really care about showing my hand first against recreational players. I'm just trying to keep the game as fun for them as possible. We get a clean river, which is the 4 of hearts, and we put the cutoff all in for his remaining $70. And he actually calls with king queen, so even though I told him my hand, I guess he could be angled, and who knows like what's going on in these games, so I can't really blame him for putting the extra 70 in. But he didn't believe me, had to see it himself, and so we will actually stack him and rake in this $1,200 pot. And as you can see, the games here at Gardens are good. He was not able to fold king queen off on the turn, even though it was a 4-way flop and a 3-way turn. And so yeah, games are hot here at the Gardens 5-5. After we stacked that nice gentleman, we now move over to the 8 seat to get a better view of the entire table for the video. And we look down at queen 8 offsuit in the big blind. The cutoff opened to $20, and this is very close. Probably should just fold, but we decide to peel with some devious intentions. The flop comes jack 8, deuce, rainbow, and a single raise pot out of position. We're just checking range in most spots, and I don't think I'm going to be playing too much donk in live poker. Online I'll do it a little bit, live poker not so much. So we check, and the cutoff will quickly checks back. The turn is now an 8 of hearts, and I think we can either just bet very large here or hope he peels with ace-x and any of his showdown value that checks back the flop. That might be inelastic. Or if we think he won't call ace-x, then we can just go very tiny. But it does feel like a blood from a stone spot with the timing tell of quickly checking back the flop. In game, I decide to check again, giving him a little rope with the intention of check raising, but I don't think it's good. He isn't likely to bet call when that happens. And we also generate too much fold equity. But we could get value from some flush draws if he has any. But anyways, we check and he quickly checks again. River's now the 8 of diamonds, so we actually just have quads and the pot is $40. I don't really expect him to bluff or stab at this point. If he was going to do something like that, he would have already done it on the turn. So he probably just has air or some ace high that checks back. And I felt like although betting small to get called by ace-x is probably better, I thought my line might look a little bizarre to someone who's likely a thinking fish and his entire range is going to be a bluff catcher. So when that is the case, I decide to just bet really big, and I overbet for $100 into 40. And like we suspected, he pretty quickly folds and we win a tiny pot here, but not super happy with my playing game. I think we can just go bet small twice and it might be more likely an ace calls, and then we would win around the same as if he were to just stab on the turn. Here's a hand where I really wish I would have played it differently, and let me explain why. We pick up pocket aces again under the gun, and we raise it up to $25. The button calls, and the big blind calls. So we go 3 ways to the flop of queen 10, 3 with 2 hearts, and with one player in position, this is where I made a mistake. Heads up, I think check raising my hand is fine, if not good, But three ways, we should just go bet, bet, bet with a hand like this, minimize fold equity. But anyways, we go ahead and check the flop, and the button goes $45. The big blind folds, and we raise to $200. And I think the size is also just a little bit too large. My idea in game was to just get it all in on the turn versus a shorter stack that might just call off any pair plus straight draw, any flush draw. So not sure what, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, which line you like better, but I do think just going bet, bet, bet will be more profitable. The button ends up folding anyways, and we win another small pot. We find ourselves with pocket fives in the low jack. We go ahead and raise it to $25, and only the big blind, who I believe is a very tight, straightforward fish, calls. Flop comes 10-8-3 rainbow, and when he checks it over to us, I should probably just c-bet this hand for a couple of reasons. Makes future streets easier to play, and it also gives us a tiny bit of protection versus random 2-overs. I'm not really a protection enjoyer, but I know live players love protection, even though it's the most fake reason ever to bet for anything. Anyways, I decide to check it back. Turns the ace of spades, bringing a backdoor flush draw, and now the big blind just leads for $40, and this is quite a large bet, and I think we just have a pretty clear fold here in position, regardless of this profile. So that's what we do. We go ahead and just fold our pocket fives, and we move on. It's about 1 a.m. at this point, and the games are still quite good, and you'll kind of see why as we go on. But we look down at pocket eights in the big blind. The hijack opened to $20, which is a smaller size, and I think players have sizing tells pre-flop. The button, small blind, both call, and this is a close spot, but I think I like squeezing here the most with so much dead money. So that's what we do. We make it $150 to go. Everyone folds, and just like that, we collect a $65 pot without having to see a flop. Live poker is good. Very next hand, we actually pick up pocket eights again with the same suits. I've never had this happen before, but it really makes me believe that live poker is rigged for action to make the worst players win more. Anyways, I was fumbling with my setup, and the cutoff opens. We flat the 25 on the button with pocket eights, and both of the blinds call. The flop comes king, queen, queen with 2 hearts, so there's $100 in the pot. Checks to us, and I don't see any reason to stab multi-way. Someone could easily just have a king that they're checking back, a queen, looking for a check raise. So we go ahead and just check back ourselves. Turn is now the 6 of diamonds, and it checks to us again. And for the same reasons on the flop before, I just think we have plenty of showdown value. Betting doesn't really accomplish much. Cutoff can still have pocket jacks, pocket tens. And when we bet, we only really get called by a 6 or maybe pocket 7s, pocket 4s, something like that. River's now the deuce of spades, and the big blind now leads for half pot. This is my favorite side to bluff catch online, and it's massively over bluffed, as we all know, as you've seen from my previous video. And so I'm curious to see how much it applies live. So we snap call after everyone else folds, and the small blind actually shows king queen off. So he flatted pre in the small blind king queen over a late position open, then trapped, and then went half pot. Pretty impressive play going on here, but he got my $45, so nice hand to him. Straddle is on now for the rest of the night, which I have no problem with. I'm never really going to actively straddle on my own if the table's not doing it, but if everyone else is straddling, I have no problem making the game go bigger. We have queen 7 of diamonds in the small blind. The cutoff limps, which is the same OMC face-up tight fish from earlier. And we decide to raise in the small blind to $40. A little bit wide on the pre-flop side for sure, but on the button, I think this is fine. In the small blind, I think we could just fold. Out of position, just not as good as playing in position versus fish, but everyone else folds, the limper calls. Flop is jack 9-7 with 1 diamond. And out of position single raise pot, we are just checking most of our range outside of some very niche spots where we just want to go bet, bet, bet. The OMC cutoff limper just overbets the flop. So again, this side's pretty underbluffed, so we don't have to call one because we have backdoors and we have a pair, and because we check ball, we just fold to get out of the way when they tell us with a flashing sign that they have a good hand. So we fold. Chugging right along now, the low jack limps. The button raises to $25, and we defend the big blind here with queen jack offsuit. Could sometimes 3-bet, but again, I think out of position, we just want to keep the pot size a little bit smaller. In position, we can do some more out of line stuff. So anyways, we call, the limper calls, and 3-ways out of position to a flop of ace, jack, 9, monotone, all hearts. We check out of position as we always do, and it quickly checks around. Turn is now the 6 of clubs, and heads up, I think we can value bet small, targeting 9s with a heart, 8s with a heart, some jack 10, some other draws, but multi-way is just a bit too thin, I think, so we check, and it checks around again. River is now the 3 of spades, and now I'm pretty confident we have the best hand, but we have to go really small here in order to get called. So if I had an air ball, I'd probably go like 55, 75, maybe slight overbet to get all the random crap to fold. So here we just go $10. I think we can go 20, 25. It'll all accomplish about the same thing, but they both quickly fold, and we take down another small pot, chipping away at their stacks. This hand is a weird one, so let's talk about it. Low jack limps, high jack limps. We open up the cutoff with jack 8 of clubs that we ISO to $35. And now the button, who flatted the king queen off in the small blind earlier, now 3-bets us to $85. And I really just expect this to be like queens plus, ace queen plus. But he went so small, we're obviously priced in, and we're just going to have to play very cautiously post-flop, and thankfully this player is extremely honest with their hand, so we might have some bluffing opportunities later on, so we of course call. The flop comes ace, 4-5, 2 diamonds, and if he reads on this pot, we're just roadrunner, we're getting the heck out of dodge. But we check, and the button thinks about it for a few seconds and quickly checks back, so I'm kind of thinking that he just has kings, queens, jacks, same range as before. Turn is a 4 of clubs, and now I just want to target the hands like I just mentioned, to call once on the turn and then blast them off on the river. So since I don't think he ever has a good hand outside of maybe exactly pocket aces that he would trap, we bet $65, which I think is just too small. I had miscounted the pot. I should really just go like 120, 140, just have like a 1.5x overbet shove on the river, and yeah, we can blast him off, but he quickly calls. River is now the jack of spades, and I still think he has the exact same range. We put him on before, and the only difference is now we do have a tiny bit of showdown value against exactly like pocket 10s, maybe pocket 9s, but the thing is, we saw him only 3-bet, like, he didn't 3-bet king queen off, so he might only just be 3-betting queens, kings, aces, ace king. And so I think it's interesting that we can maybe turn our river showdown into a bluff to get him to fold those hands on the river. But in game we check. I just think we have a little too much showdown value. We could sometimes be beating pocket 10s. And he checks back and he shows us pocket queens like we suspected, and we kind of get reeled in here losing a medium pot. If the river had been something else, we would have just blasted and maybe gotten it through, maybe not. But yeah, kind of interesting. Now we pick up my favorite hand, king queen off in the low jack. We open it up to $30. The cutoff, small blind, and the big blind call. So we actually go 4 ways to a flop here. A flop of ace, 3, 6 rainbow. Checks us, and my rule again is only betting good hands, good draws multi-way, and it checks through. Turn is the ace of hearts, and when it checks us again, I just think we have plenty of showdown here on this exact turn with the best unpaired hand, so I don't really see a point in turning our hand into a bluff. Honestly, we might even be able to call the turn, just expecting to be ahead of some straight draws and some random jack high, queen high they stab, but so we check and it checks through. River's a 7, brick of diamonds, brick is a bricks, and when it checks to us, here's that showdown value lesson, guys. We don't need to pay the showdown value tax, okay? We used to call it the pair tax in my Discord. We don't need to just bet because we don't know what to do. We can just check. Checking is free. It's free, people. We don't need to just put money in the pot because we don't know what to do. Just check. It checks through. We win with king high. And again, this shows that the games are just so passive and soft. This is just printing money. Just play solid poker. Steal the pots when we don't have showdown. When we have a hand like this that has plenty of showdown, just check. You're going to win way more than you should in these spots. This is just a pre-flop spot, but let me show you really quick. We look down at ace-7 of diamonds in the cutoff. The hijack limps, the low jack limps. Straddle is on, and we have a tighter image at this point, so there's already like $40 in the middle, so really, really nice spot to just raise massive and steal all the blinds pre-flop. It's going to be super profitable, not getting the $5 drop break from California. So we bump it up to $75. If they want to call their garbage, so be it. We can outplay them post-flop in position. But we raise the 75, everyone folds, we get it through, easy money, easy life. A little bit later, jack 10 of hearts, we peel it back, a beautiful hand here. We open it up the low jack to $25, the button, small blind, and the big blind call. So we are going 4 ways, semi in position, to a flop of queen 9-6 rainbow. It checks to us, and I think we can bet or check this hand. It's close, we are drawing to the nuts, but it is 4 ways, and the blinds are a bit short. So we have a little less fold equity later on, so I decide to check, and the button checks back. Turn is a wonderful 8 of clubs, bringing a backdoor flush draw, and giving us the nuts, of course. Checks to me again. I decide to just bet here. Obviously, I don't think anyone's going to stab if they haven't at this point, and I should just go quite large here. I should just go like 100, 110. something like that. Target like pair plus draw, which is a lot of their range is going to be at this point. Some backdoor flush draws, maybe some weak queen X that got checked. But we go half pot because I'm efficient. I'm not thinking clearly. It's a little late. Button folds, small blind folds, but the big blind actually calls. River is now the queen of clubs, so now the board pairs and the backdoor flush draw comes in. Not the best card. And now the big blind just donk leads for $145 into $190. And I don't think we can ever fold just because I think the big blind could be doing this with some random queen X that's not a boat. I think 2-pair and sets would have just raised the turn, but he could reasonably have a flush here, so I think it's very close to a jam because he only has about $200 more and the pot's about $200 at this point. But I just think we will run into a flush at some frequency, so I decided to just call. We table our hand, and we're actually good against a random queen X. We didn't exactly so the big blind had a queen. He checked it back twice, so we got quite a good run out for our hand. Nice hand. Let me know if you guys don't want to see these hands, but just another really simple pre-flop spot, okay? Just don't be passive. We got king queen suited. I know it seems obvious. We just raised the $65 over a bunch of limpers. Honestly, I should just go like 85, 90. And if they want to call, they're just going to call against our dominating hand. So we make it 80, 65. Everyone folds. We win $30 without seeing a flop. And especially in California with the rake, this is just going to be so profitable. This hand is a huge blunder. Let me explain. So we open early position with queen jack off, and the big blind is the only person who defends. So the flop comes 4-5-4 with a couple of hearts, and in position, as I've said before, I'm just range betting half pot. Usually try to get him to float very wide and then still raise off any trip sets, strong hands like that, so we can take it down later. So we bet $20 into 50, the big blind calls. Turn is on the king of clubs. When he checks it over, we just want to target hands like pocket pairs, 5x, maybe some ace-x floats, but I don't think they're going to continue to a double barrel. We bet $75, and I think we should maybe size this down, but just scare away the pocket pairs, so when he calls, his range on the river just becomes a little bit too strong, which makes bluffing with a hand like ours unappealing. With value, it's probably fine to do, but I didn't put all the pieces together in-game, and so that was the first mistake. Now the river is a 5 of diamonds, pretty terrible run out, and he is about $200 behind. Let's be honest with ourselves, a king is never folding, a 5 is not folding. If he somehow has a 4 that he's slow played, it's not folding. There's just not a single combination in his range I think that's folding, because I think the pocket pairs just overfold on the turn since we went a little too large. So now the range that we funneled into on the river is just too condensed into strong hands. But also the other part I didn't put together in game is that queen jack actually just has a ton of showdown here versus all the gut shots and straights like 6-7, 6-8, 3-7, like all these hands, like, and in game I just convinced myself he had a lot of ace-x floats. I don't think he does, besides like, again, maybe like ace-3, ace-deuce, ace-6. And so I think the best play is to just check and give up, and sometimes we'll actually win against those lower straight draws I talked about. But in game I convinced myself he had too much, and I didn't jam because I think jamming is bad or run into a brick wall. So I just decided to go half pot, and yeah, he just snap calls a king. Obviously, we expected that. I think we just have too much showdown value with queen jack, so we can just check him. So overall, messy hand. I wish we thought it through a little bit longer on the river. I came to the right conclusion about a minute or two after the hand, realizing that queen jack had showdown. But yeah, we ignite a couple hundred on fire here for no reason. But I want to share with you guys the bad hands too, so you guys know I'm not playing perfect. Toward the end of our session, we pick up ace queen off in the straddle. A short stack rec who sat down not too long ago opens up on the button to $30. He only has about 130 total in his stack. The small blind calls a 30, and we squeeze the straddle to 135, effectively putting the button all in. He of course makes the call, and then the small blind actually double flats. So yeah, definitely some good games going on here. So about $400 in the pot. We go to a flop of ace 7-9, 2 hearts. So small blind checks to us, and there is a dry side pot, so I would never be bluffing here in a million years. But that doesn't mean we have to go tiny versus fish. They're still going to be inelastic. But I decide on an A-side board, we can just simplify. He doesn't have too much behind, so it's not hard to get him all in on the turn. We just range bet for 1/3 pot. We go $150 into 400. The small blind reluctantly gets out of the way, and we are heads up now versus an unknown hand, but we table ace queen. He gives us a thumbs up. Turn is the 5 of clubs, river is the 10 of diamonds, and we win a pretty decent sized pot here, holding with ace queen. Last hand of the night, and this is a fun one for sure, one of my favorite spots. We are on the button with 9-2 off, the baby Brunson here, and we are opening any 2 on the button with fish in the blinds. We open at $25. The big blind calls, and as the flop is being dealt, he actually talks to me. What'd you say? Okay, alright. Well, I was already planning on bluffing him, so now we have to follow through, right? Anyways, flop comes King 7-3, rainbow, dry as the desert. In position, we're going to be betting half pot. These dry static boards are a little bit less likely to be fast played on, but he's still going to have a super wide range out of the big blind regardless. And usually when a fish says bluff me, they have a weak hand and are trying to feign strength. And now as the turn is being dealt, he actually asked for a 7. Ooh. But the turn is the queen of diamonds, and so I did the exact same thing, pretending that I love the turn card. On the turn here, I think he's still just being a little bit too honest, and he says careful right as I reach for my chips, and I just think this is just complete weakness from this player. He would have raised a good hand on the flop. He probably would just shut up and let me bluff into him if he actually had a good hand. So we go ahead and follow through with our plan. We're going to bet the sides where they call with their weak stuff so we can blast them off on the river. Same old as always, we go bet 75 into 90, sizing up for a big chunky overbet on the river. But before we even get our bet out, he folds, and we get the 9 deuce off through. And since we were having a lot of fun at the table, I actually flip over my hand to show him. I ended up calling the session after that hand about 5 hours in, pretty good. And so we rack up and cash out and get out. So I'm on the way back to the car after 5-5, started playing around 10 p.m., had a nice 4.5 hour session. Pretty late, ran pretty well, got some bluffs through, got some not that I wasn't too happy with. Most of the hands I'm pretty happy with how I played and my thought process throughout them. We were in for 1,000, out for 2,020. So overall plus like 1,000. I didn't quite keep track as well as I was supposed to because I had like a little 2-hour session from the other day that I kind of just kept my chips and mixed them all in. So I'll have to double check with the video and everything like that, but I'll see you guys in the next session. Peace.